Welcome to Truth by Billie Beene. Today's date, April 21, 2025, Easter Monday. Time in Texas about 9 a.m. We begin with breaking news that Pope Francis has passed away. At 7:35 this morning in Italy, Cardinal Kevin Farrell made the announcement that Pope Francis had passed over. He was the first Latin American Pope. He had been Pope since 2013. Prior to his death, early this morning, he had been in the hospital for several weeks with pneumonia. He returned briefly to the Vatican over the weekend. Vice President J.D. Vance met briefly with him over the weekend. The White House announces, rest in peace, Pope Francis. A new conclave, the Catholic process to select a new pope will begin in 15 to 20 days. So that's going on. And we have this morning coronal wind coming off of the sun to give us a G2, April 22nd to 23. And a new paper has come out on suspicious observers, currently called Space Weather on YouTube, detailing the cycles the Earth goes through. It's believed 6,000 years ago, we went through what's being called the Noah cycle, Noah event. This current event in which we are currently living involves a pole shift and a coming solar event. And it's believed this is 2025 to extend through the 2030s. The point is, it's being acknowledged that we're currently going through what many would simply call a pole shift. And we have this from Facebook. If the U.S. tariffs can cause global recession, then the world has been living off of the U.S. Think about it. And we have this. President Trump. Yeah, we know President Trump has set about to take down the federal Department of Education, return education to the states. We've had, and President Trump acknowledges the good work of Texas Governor Abbott in passing a school voucher act in Texas that would give money to parents. It's called the School Voucher Program. So parents in Texas can decide, I'm going to send my children to a public school, a private school, even a religious school, and the school will receive money based on the parents' choice of school. So way to go, President Trump and Governor Abbott. And we have this. President Trump has put forth this plan. Currently over the U.S., we have very little air defense programs. So President Trump wants to put over America what he is calling the Golden Dome. And this will involve efforts by many companies, including Elon Musk, SpaceX, Palantir, another company, Real Dome Builders, and other companies. And this dome shield over America will include 1,000 SpaceX orbiters and other parts that will go over. And it will give America warning. It will also be a defense system and will shoot down enemy warheads. And it's something like what President Reagan talked about, a Star Wars program. It will also include 200 satellites that are equipped with missiles and lasers to do the shoot downs. So it's a combination of warning and defense system. Way to go, President Trump. And we have this from Facebook. Yes, I heard this over the weekend. President Trump is currently withdrawing hundreds of troops from Syria. And we know over the weekend or beginning late last week, President Trump declined to join with Israel in a joint strike on Iran. Now, Syria is adjacent to Iran, and Iran had made this threats to the U.S. If the U.S. hits Iran, Iran is going to take out U.S. military bases. We have them in Syria and Jordan, in Kuwait, in the UAE, and Qatar, and other locations in the Middle East. But the one in Syria seems to be the most vulnerable right now, and President Trump is withdrawing U.S. troops from Syria. Yeah, so that's going on. And now we have this from Redacted. President Trump apparently is going to go scorched earth plan to take down the Federal Reserve, which is not a part of the U.S. government, but rather is a U.S. arm of the deep state to control the money in the U.S. And it's being described, the Federal Reserve, as a criminal organization, not U.S. government. It is a part of the deep state cartel to control money. And the Federal Reserve's job is to control the U.S. dollar. And we have comments by Chris Rossini, part of the Ron Paul Institute. A primary job of the Federal Reserve, not a part of the U.S. government, is to fix interest rates. And it is a central bank arm of the deep state to control the U.S. economy. Apparently, President Trump, and we believe backed by God, is ready to take this down. We have this from Alex CHRISTEFEROU. Yes, 600 U.S. military are to be withdrawn from 3 bases in Syria. I submit it's much higher than 600, more like 6,000. And we have this, that in the next 2 months, yes, thousands of troops could be withdrawn from Syria. I submit President Trump is in the process of doing that now. And we have this. So Iran, over the weekend, or just prior to the weekend, Easter weekend, had put forth some of its no-go stances with regard to the U.S. Wanting Iran's nuclear program to go away. Iran says it will not halt uranium enrichment, and it will not get rid of its current centrifuges, and it will not get rid of any of its uranium stockpile. Yeah, in its negotiations with its missile program. So that's going on. There was a meeting Saturday, U.S., Iran, April 19. Both sides say the meeting went well, but there are no conclusive outcomes. We have this. We have, yes, there was also a Paris meeting. This was a few days before Easter with President Trump's Secretary of State, Marco Rubio, President Trump's envoy, Steve Witkoff. This was a meeting in Paris with some European leaders and I believe some representatives from Ukraine. This is about the Ukraine conflict. And President Trump is putting this forth. If there isn't a concrete plan coming forth soon, in 2 to 3 days, the U.S. is going to move on. This could be interpreted as the U.S. will stop negotiating with any representatives from Ukraine and Europe, simply do direct negotiations with Russia. And after the meeting, Secretary of State Marco Rubio briefed Russia Foreign Minister Lavrov on the meeting. So President Trump, I believe this week, will move on with regard to resolution of the conflict in Ukraine. And we have news coming out that over the weekend that Russia now plans to move on and take additional areas inside Ukraine, such as Odessa, Kharkiv, Sumy, and Kiev. So that's going on. And we have this from Hal Turner. Yes, a few days ago, the U.S. moved, it's now, I believe, 4 B-1B U.S. strategic bombers. That's the planes that can carry the heavy bombs. For the first time since the Vietnam War, they had been moved to Japan. And before they landed in Japan, they flew over North and South Korea as a show of force. So that's going on. They're going to Misawa Air Force Base in Japan. They flew out of Dias Base in Texas. And we currently have 6 to 10 B-2 stealth bombers in Diego Garcia in the Indian Ocean adjacent to the Middle East. So we see the U.S. repositioning strategic bombers to both the Middle East and to the area near China. So that's going on. We have this from Hal Turner, Intel, China, that the Houthis, yes, China, the CCP, has been giving intel to the Houthis to hit U.S. warships. So we see the CCP has been giving intel to the Houthis to hit U.S. ships. This is definitely an act of war. The company inside China that is doing this is Chang Guang, G-U-A-N-G, Satellite Ltd. So we have a company inside China, the CCP, who's giving targeting data to the Houthis. And we believe the Houthis are a proxy for Iran. We see the CCP colluding with Iran to provide intel to a group to hit U.S. warships. The CCP company inside China who is doing this, according to Hal Turner's intel, is Changguan Satellite Limited. So that's going on. And now we have this. We have from Russia. So for the past 5 days, I would say, on the Russian nuclear radio system, commonly called the buzzer, we've been hearing new sounds. It's not being publicly interpreted as to what these sounds mean. I would believe that the U.S. military certainly knows. But the point is that the public can know and can hear on this Russian nuclear radio system, the buzzer, that Russia is putting out unusual signals, and they're being compared to what was heard on the buzzer just prior to Russia's entering Ukraine in 2022. And we have this. Yes, this is very interesting on a YouTube site, QUANTA, talking about ancient tablets being found and giving additional information about the Earth and the cosmos. And I know Mike from Around the World also brought out some interesting information. And have you noticed, as we're now getting all this new information, ancient tablets and ancient civilizations and ancient information about the cosmos is now being found and put out. And also all this information about UFOs and AFPs, which many people believe is fallen angel technology. The point is, we're seeing a plethora, many messages coming out about new information. Now, Mike from Around the World put out some new information about the pyramid in Egypt, Giza, and all these cylinders being found underneath. You know, these are hundreds of feet high. The U.S. military and other militaries and governments are combining what's called LIDAR. That's where you would have a satellite in the sky and it's beaming pulses of light back and forth. Plus, they're doing some type of sound. Plus, they're combining different technologies that are now putting this out and are able then to see deep into the earth through solid material. These pulses back and forth, then plus AI, will generate a shape. And I read recently that Wi-Fi, your Wi-Fi router inside your house, can also do that. Inside your house, it doesn't give a picture, but certainly a shape, a view where you are inside your house. Who knew? So that's going on. This concludes my flash. It's good to be in prayer for America, President Trump, the U.S. military, and world peace. I love you, and I'll see you soon.